Hello, welcome. Uh, I'm caught off guard. I am here. I'm happy to be here, and I'm caught off guard because I normally have countdown music, and I don't have that today. So we're just diving right in. Luckily, I was like, you know, not doing anything weirder than usual when I came on live. Anyway, welcome in. I am super happy to be here. You may notice that I have the lovely Restream logo above me. My StreamYard account is a little bit wonky right now. They've doubled their price, and I'm just not into that. And I am debating how I will proceed from here with my lives, because I really like doing lives, and everybody's doubling their prices right now. So I'm considering. And if you do lives and you have a system that you really like, let me know. Anyway, welcome in. I'm Lauren Lefkowitz. I am super happy to be here with you. I am live today only on LinkedIn and YouTube. I should be back to my usual antics in the next week or two, and on all of my streaming platforms. But for now, just here. And if you have just stumbled upon me, welcome in. I am Lauren Lefkowitz, executive coach and fractional chief HR officer. And I believe fine is a trap, which is usually the logo that you would find up here. Fine is what we say we are when we're not fine, because there's no such thing as being fine. We're good or we're bad. We're great or we're awful. We're excited or devastated. We're angry or happy. Nobody lives in fine. And but in our careers and in life, but I focus more on career. In our careers, we talk about being fine when we're not making the money we want to make, or we're not speaking up for ourselves, or we're in a place where our boss isn't kind to us, or we're in a toxic environment, or we're doing a job we don't want to do and sort of peeking over the fence at other people's jobs, and why are they so happy and I'm not? Or we're overworking, or we're just freaking tired. And so I talk about all of that stuff. I talk about burnout and boundaries and busyness and boredom. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is the busy and bored at the same time, which is a brutal place to be. And so I'll tell you my own busy board story. And then I'll dive into like a couple of client scenarios that I've had where, without, of course, divulging any information about my clients, confidentiality, super important to me. And I never publish anything that can tie my clients to a story unless I have their express permission to do so. But my busy and bored story is that I, very early on in my career, realized that I enjoyed being busy and also enjoyed my job. So if you don't know me, if you're just coming into this, I have been coaching on the side since the early 2000s. But my main job, my corporate job, was in human resources for 20 years or so. And I took my business full-time 4 years ago. And so I've lived the corporate life. And when I moved into HR, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I even loved the hard parts, because I knew that I could bring compassion and fairness and equity and a voice of reason and mediation skills. Like, I'm good at HR, and I really enjoyed it for 15 of the 20 years I was in it. As time went on, though, I took on more and more work. And when I fell out of love with HR, I started hand raising / having my hand raised for me, sometimes known as voluntold, that, like, for other things. So I interim managed different departments. I took on projects that like HR normally wouldn't be involved in. I was invited into rooms where work wasn't moving forward or projects weren't moving forward. I ended up managing departments that don't normally fall under HR, partly in the interest of people pleasing, partly in the interest of boredom, that like I didn't love HR anymore and I couldn't really figure out what I did love. Sorry, I'm fixing my hair here. It's falling out of the barrettes. That's what happens when you have baby fine hair. Um, and so I fell out of love with my career and I didn't know what to do about it because I was busy. My HR job was probably a 60-hour a week job because I was a department of one in a pretty demanding environment. And um, and then I was taking on all of these side projects within the organization to sort of like find some joy and find some excitement. And then once I started raising my hand, like it never really went down. And even if I tried to put my hand down, I got voluntold to be involved in things. And this led me to what I thought was a workaholic life at 60 hours to a real workaholic life at 80 to 100 hours. Don't get me wrong, 60 hours a week can be a workaholic life. So, and so can 40 hours a week if your work is sticking with you. And that's for another live or maybe a workshop. Stay tuned. And so what I was finding was that I wasn't enjoying any of the work anymore because what I really wanted to do was coach most of the time and do a little HR consulting work as a side gig. But instead, I was squeezing coaching into the side and doing HR / fill in the blank, IT, meetings, fundraising at one point, program management at one point, finance at one point, like just hand it over to me. I will take it on. And I wasn't interested in any of it, which made it even more exhausting. And clients come to me with this problem all the time. And they do a lot of shoulding themselves, which if you are a person who does the should thing, at 7:30 tonight, it's in 20 minutes or so, I am going to be hosting a workshop called The Shoulds. And we're going to talk about all the things that we tell ourselves we should be doing, we should be feeling, we should be thinking, we should have by this point in our lives. So if you go into my profile after my live, you should be able to register. And if for any reason you can't register, send me a DM. I'll check those DMs right before I go live in the workshop, which is going to be a Zoom meeting. But back to the busy and bored. I have a lot of clients who come to me because there's this like one tiny part of their job that they like or love or were in love with at some point and no longer, or not at all, or never were. And so instead, they are swamped with work. They are stressed and they don't feel good about the work because they're actually super bored by it. Right? So like imagine that your job is to be a cashier at a grocery store. This is a job I would love to have. I love retail. I love cash registers. I don't even think we really have cash registers anymore, although we do at grocery stores. But imagine you're a cashier at a grocery store and you run the items over the scanner. They're coming on the conveyor belt. And just imagine that you are checking somebody out and their groceries simply never end. So there's no longer variety because you're not talking to different customers. There's no longer interest or intrigue because maybe you've gotten tired of the cash register or the conveyor belt, or I don't know how you could, because like, again, I wish my job had a need for a cash register and a conveyor belt. But there's no interest anymore. You are just going through the motions. You are doing the work that you do because that's the work you do, because that's the job that you have. It may even be super high level work. You may be the general manager of that grocery store who pitches in when somebody needs to be at the cash register. You may be the district manager for several grocery stores, right? I'm taking the metaphor way too far. But if you think about in your own workplace, when I got bored with my HR job, I was a vice president. I was doing high level, strategic, thinky work. And I didn't want to be doing it because I wanted to be coaching full time. Not even because I wanted to be coaching full time, just I wasn't interested in the work anymore. And I made myself busier and busier and busier. So I like kind of didn't have time to think about the fact that I was bored with the career because I didn't know what else to do at that point. I have had clients who've come to me who like 10% of their job. It is the thing that keeps them going. Or they freaking love their boss and they would follow them anywhere. But the work that they're doing feels mind numbing. It feels so boring. And let me tell you, boredom is exhausting, especially when you're busy with it. So if you think about that grocery store example and the conveyor belt, eventually none of the products look interesting anymore. All of the people are the same person because the conveyor belt is never ending. You no longer take joy in seeing the next guest or the next customer. And it happens in our careers. I would be recruiting and we would have some really amazing candidates come in and really great interviews, and hiring managers would come into my office and be like, create the offer. I'm ready. And at some point in my career, I would have gotten so excited about that. And in my brain, I was like, oh, I got to put together the offer letter. And I lost the spark and I lost the joy in it. And you may find this in your career that you've been in HR or marketing or finance or engineering or analytics, whatever you've been in for all of these years, whether that's 5 years or 15 years or 28 years or however long it's been, if you are bored with the thing that you're doing, it is just as exhausting as if you're just like simply overwhelmed and stressed. And so when you combine busy and bored, and there's like no break time, there's no downtime, there's constant demand on you. There is a constant need for you to be in the room for meetings. There's a constant need for you to be turning things in on a deadline. And you're doing it because you're supposed to, and you want to keep your job. You don't want to be unemployed, but you're bored with the career. If you can emotionally disconnect, which, like, if you're watching this, you probably can't because you care a whole lot about your career, and not everybody does, and that's okay. But you probably do because you're watching me and I care so much about careers, and you probably wouldn't be interested in this if you weren't interested in talking about your career. But what happens is the same sort of level of fatigue comes from being super excited about the work you do, but overwhelmed by too much of it, and super bored by the work you do and overwhelmed by it. The difference on the excited side, on the passion side, is that there is a willingness often in short stints to be too busy, whatever your version of too busy is, and sort of a pass at it, right? Like, well, it's really busy right now, but I'm really excited about the work. So I'm tired. And yeah, I need to figure out some balance or some integration, better integration here. But like, at least I'm doing really cool stuff, right? When you're also bored and you're just as busy, there's no joy. There's no feeling of forward motion. There's no like relishing in the accomplishment that you get from the busy. So as you're thinking about yourself and the forking audacity of allowing yourself to be both so busy and so bored at the same time, you get to start thinking about what can be different. Now, could your job be different? Could your career be different? Maybe, absolutely. And if you want to talk about that, give me a call. Set up a time on my calendar, send me a DM. And I can talk to you about that. And I can talk to you about what it looks like to be in a coaching partnership where you really get to explore what you want your career to look and feel like, whether that's the same career in a different job, whether it's the same job and the same career and the same boss and the same company and the same money, but you just want to feel better about it. I work with people who are in the midst of their careers in leadership positions, individual contributors and people managers alike, who just don't feel good about where they are. And they keep saying they're fine. You keep saying you're fine. We're not fine. We deserve better than fine. But the audacity comes in because you are working X number of hours per week. You're also then thinking about work when you're not working. You're waking up in the morning dreading going to work because you're not interested in the work. You're bored. And you're so overwhelmed that you really can't slack, even though you're bored, because it's too busy for you to like indulge in the boredom. Am I telling you to go quit your job tomorrow? I am not. It is a weird, weird, weird job environment right now. And we all know that. But the question that you get to ask yourself is, what can I do to make this more fun? And sometimes that's a conversation with your boss or another team member, or when I was at one of the companies I was at internally, I asked for permission to build a relationship with the parent company, with my peers in the parent company. I did, and then I got invited to be on projects, and that was pretty exciting. And if the work and the job and it's just not for you, you just are bored out of your mind, you just don't like it, you don't have any passion for it, then you get to decide, how can I gamify this? How can I make this a game? How can I make this fun and offer myself treats or rewards, or, treat yourself like a dog. I love dogs, and I want the simple life where like I get a nice little treat for doing good work. Or build relationships with your coworkers in new ways, or find a hobby on the side to do. And in all of that, some of the work in removing the audacity of allowing yourself to spend so many hours a week doing a job that you just aren't interested in is asking yourself, what are the rewards? And how can I disconnect from this at the end of the day and before the beginning of the day? Because something that we do when we're so busy and so bored is that the feeling of busy and bored sticks with us before and after hours. We don't look forward to going out with our friends because they're going to say, how's work? And you're going to say, it's all right. It's fine. When you know it's not fine. So you get to make your own fun. If you're a person who has trouble setting boundaries, if you're a person who has trouble asking for what you need, a busy, bored job is a great playground to start building those skills, building boundary setting skills, testing out saying no to something very small and very low stakes, testing out leaving at X time, whatever time your day is supposed to end, actually doing that once a week until you're really doing it once a week, and then upping that to 2 times a week and upping that to 3 times a week. And you get to play with talking to your boss about being a little bit less busy. You get to play with asking to be on a project that you are excited about or interested in, or that you're looking over the fence at your peers that they're doing. So it's not an all or nothing. It's not you stay busy and bored, or you leave and you start anew in this weird environment. There's a whole spectrum in between. And that's, I think, the thing that we forget, is that we have choices in between the choices, right? So if you are staying where you are and you're very busy and very bored, ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want to change? What are my choices today? What are my choices in this moment? Can I skip this meeting that I don't want to be in? Am I adding anything to this meeting? How can I justify not going to this meeting? Or how can I justify getting myself into this other meeting? My point is, you're not out of choices. If you're busy and bored, You get to make micro choices that allow you to find some joy and some fun in the things that you're doing, even if most of it is boring. And you're allowed to do the work that lets you end your business day and go be regular human, that allows you to have a weekend and be a regular human, that allows you to wake up on Monday morning with something to look forward to if your week is a Monday to Friday. If you want to have a conversation about this, whether you think you want to work with me or not, I would love to have a conversation with you. You can set up a strategy call. There's a link right in my profile, right around my headline, or send me a DM. I would love to have a chat with you. And again, in 10 minutes, I'm going to be leading a workshop on Zoom for those of us who talk about the shoulds and the things that we tell ourselves we should be doing or having or feeling. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I will see you next week. And if you have a topic in mind that you'd like me to talk about, either Forking Audacity related or otherwise, send me